morning, brothers and sisters. Today's scripture reading will be taken from two places, Proverbs 23, 1-3, and Matthew 4, 1-4. Proverbs 23, 1-3. When you sit down to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you were given to appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Matthew 4, 1-4. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." May God bless his own words.
Greetings. Right, now, what's the easiest way to win hearts and minds? What's the easiest way to win hearts and minds? And it's always been said that the easiest way to win hearts and minds is through the stomach. And when diplomats visit other countries, all right, the host country will have cultural exchanges over food. They call this gastro-diplomacy or culinary diplomacy. And in many cultures, businesses or even business relationships are always sealed over the dining table, right? So since food is in the very fabric of our lives, the personal, the national, the cultural, even the political and the social dimensions. So it's not surprising that food revolves around us constantly. And we know that the Bible is filled with food, right? Worship and covenant making feature food. Teachable moments like stories of the parables, they feature food. And then commemoration of deliverance from Egypt feature food. The wilderness crossing in Exodus feature food. Commemoration of Christ's death and sacrifice feature food. Jesus himself does a lot of eating and drinking as well, right? And the ministry of Old Testament prophets, they feature food many times too. And you will see that food is also featured in Israel's exile when they were in Babylon, right? Remember the prophet Daniel, when he was a young man, he refused to be tainted with the Babylonian food. Now, many miracles in the Bible revolve around food and drink as well. And even the wisdom books, right? The Proverbs, the Psalms, Ecclesiastes feature a lot of food. And of course, the promised land is made of what? It's flowing with milk and honey, right? So it's all about food. Now, food is so significant that food appears in God's very first command in Genesis chapter 1. Okay, God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens and everything. And I've given you all the plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth and every tree with seed in the fruit, and you shall have them for food." And then food appears in God's command to Adam in chapter 2. Right? The Lord God commanded the man, "You may eat of everything, every tree, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you will not eat, for in the day you eat, you shall surely die." And food appears in the final book of Revelation. The angel said to me, "Write this, blessed are those who are invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb." And so looking at the many ways, all right, the many ways that food has been featured in the Bible, food is definitely much more than just filling of stomachs, right? Food and how we handle food, okay, is an indicator of character, is an indicator of spirituality, is an indicator of obedience, is an indicator of disobedience to God, is an indicator of temptation, is an indicator of worship to God, is an indicator of your heart condition, right? And we're all of us, we're just but one bite away from all of these. You're always just one bite away from losing your principles, from losing your spirituality, from losing your morality, from losing your position in Christ, from losing your ethics, from losing your salvation for some of us. And food, oftentimes, is not just food, right? Sometimes they are not food. They can be things food. They can be situations food. They are things that we want. They are situations that we desire. They are possessions that we hunger for. And they become food for us because they fill us what we want. And so we turn what is not food into food for us. We consume them, and we don't know when to stop. And some of these things, some of these situations, they do not satisfy your stomach all at once. We all know how it goes, right? Like, you know, what, this thing, this feeling was good. It's nothing special, but it was good. And did I like it? Yes, of course. It's nice to be at the center of attention. Did I like the feeling? Yes, of course. I suppose the occasional wouldn't hurt. And it's not like it's going to happen all the time, right? It's just once a while, right? Oh, wait, did I hear you say that, you know, it's going to happen another time next month maybe? And I have to sacrifice more hours to get what I want this time round? Now, these consumption, they don't hurt you all at once. It takes many months, it takes many bites until it becomes staple food. And it's when you become dependent on staples that there will always be that one last bite that will take away your calling, that will take away everything that you've built up, that will take away your spirit, that will take away your health, that will take away your loved ones, perhaps, that will take away your career, that will take away your heart for God and your salvation. And sometimes, all it takes is just one bite to lose it all, but sometimes it takes a much longer process. But your downfall will always be one bite away, and you never know whether it will be that first bite or when is your last first bite. And so you put yourself, how do you come to this one bite position? How do you arrive at this one bite away position? And you put yourself in this one bite away position if you are blind to boundaries. If you are blind to boundaries, you become the bait. And once you become the bait, the food is going to bite you back. And you will end up broken. Right? If you're blind to boundaries, you become the bait. The food is going to bite you back, and you will end up being broken. Now, Proverbs 23, verse 1 says, 1 to 3 says, when you sit down to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you are given to appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Now, if you are blind to boundaries, now you know what boundaries are, right? Do not go beyond. Enter at your own risk. Stay within your zone. What are your boundaries? Are your boundaries rigid or situational? And the book of Proverbs is a wisdom book. It's applicable, it's real, it's for everyone. When you sit down to eat with a ruler, some people, some things, some occasions are much, much larger than you. Some of these are much, much beyond you. They are larger, they are beyond you because they have control, because they hold control. because they want to control you. And these people, these things, these situations, these occasions, they serve you so that in the end you will serve their interests in return. So who and what is your ruler? If you know, if you can discern, then what are your boundaries for these rulers? When you sit down to eat with a ruler, observe carefully what is before you. You know, people, things, occasions that are larger than you, that hold control, that want control, will always offer you what you like and what you enjoy. It'll always be what you need or what you want. It'll always be what you've been looking for. It's always what you've been wishing for. It will always be what you wish to experience at least once in a lifetime. It's going to be what you want to be popular for. It's something which will make you feel loved. It's what will make you stand out in society. It's what will make you go far up the economic ladder. What is offered is always shiny and new. And what is offered by people, by things, by occasions that are larger than you, that are beyond you, it says here, observe carefully. Open your eyes big. Count the cost carefully. What are your boundaries for this? When you sit down to eat with a ruler, can observe carefully what is before you, put a knife to your throat if you are given to appetite. It's that serious. Use a knife if necessary. Now, it doesn't say knife the thing that will cause you to sin. It says put the knife to your throat to exercise self-control. Self-control is fruit of the Holy Spirit. What are your boundaries for this? You know, several years ago, I walked into a music shop, and I wanted to buy an instrument. I had a budget. So I tried 3 items that were within or below that budget. And as I was contemplating, the lady went, "Would you like to hear how Next Level Up sounds like?" I was like, oh, wow, why not? It's not like I'm going to buy anyway. I have a budget to stick to. So she came back with 2 other items. One was $200 more, and the other was like $300 more. And it sounded so good. And I was like, so nice. How does Next Level Up sound like? I let you try, and she went like, you know, the superhero flash, just back and forth, and she came back with something even more expensive. And the sound was even more amazing. And she wanted to bring me those in the $1,000 ranges. I have to put the knife to my ears. I told her I cannot hear anymore. But of course, it was a little too late because finally I did level up a little bit. So nothing too damaging, but I just walked out with a lighter wallet, that's all. But I have to remind myself even to this day, unless I'm ready to level up, never, ever step in to do a test drive, all right? Now what happened? What happened? The occasion was larger than me. I thought I had control. I really thought I had control because I had a budget to keep, right? They closed at 6 p.m. I went at 5 p.m. Okay, I brought cash. I told myself, just do the test, pay, and go. But it was her earnestness, her enthusiastic customer service, and the display of those magnificent handcrafted instruments. And then the test drives, the beautiful sounds. The occasion was much, much larger than me. The occasion ruled, not me. And not just the occasion, even the things, the instruments were larger than me. You know, my first piece was from Taobao, $90 plus, including of shipping even. And so I thought like maybe $150 and $200 level up is good enough to satisfy my acoustical hunger, all right? It did, until I heard the more expensive tones, right? Put a knife to your ears if you are given to acoustical appetite. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It's better to lose one of your members than your whole body be thrown into hell. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better to lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell. Put a knife to your eyes. If you're given to visual appetites, put a knife to what channels your appetite. Right? Not the knife at what causes you to sin, but the knife to what channels your appetite. Put a knife may not necessarily mean no overeating. To have boundaries may not necessarily mean see less, eat less, touch less. Because there will be times where total denial of your appetite may be the only way to go if you want to stay true to your family, if you want to stay true to yourself. That may be the only way to go if you want to be available to your spouse or to your children. Sometimes total denial of your appetite may be the only way to go if you want to have work-life balance. It may be the only way to go if you want to stay healthy and not have your time cut short, if you want to witness your son's or your daughter's wedding and see your grandchildren. The only way to go is to cut short, not your life, but to cut short your appetite, right? It may be the only way to go if you desire harmonious relationships. And many times, total denial of your appetite may be the only way to go if you want to stay true to your commitment to God, if you want to stay true to what you sing on Sundays, to what you pray and read on Sundays. Total denial of your appetite may be the only way to go if you want to stay true to your Christian calling, if you want to serve God with clean hands and pure hearts, to be a fit vessel for His use. You cannot serve the appetites of adultery and be God's vessel. You cannot serve the appetites of casual sex and be God's vessel. You cannot serve the appetites of status and pride and self-importance and be God's humble servant. Total denial of your appetite might be the only way to go if you don't want to be deceived by Satan. So without the ability to discern, to deny yourself, your appetite is going to cost you deeply. Without ability to discern and deny yourself, deception could bite you back. Now, Satan is a ruler. He will use people, he will use things, he will use occasions, he will use you to host you at his dining table for his purpose. He's out to deceive. Don't become bait. Don't be one bite away from being bitten and broken by him. But then you say, wait, Pastor Karol, wait. I have boundaries. I really do have boundaries. I really draw my boundaries. Well, let me ask you then, who makes your boundaries? Who determines your boundaries? Was it you or was it God? Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. Think about this. Satan spares no one, not even Jesus. Dude, you know or you don't know who Jesus is. You really got it coming, dude. But Satan's probably thinking, look, the man's hungry, right? 40 days, 40 nights. Look at him. He's got to eat. So Satan is playing this card. The easiest way to win hearts and minds is through the stomach. He's playing this card on Jesus. He succeeded with the first Adam. So he's going to try his luck with the second Adam. When you need fuel for the body, Satan is going to host you. When you need to recharge the body, Satan wants to host you. After a lousy weekend in school, your school project got low grades, you got nasty comments on your video on TikTok, your friend stepped on your self-esteem and made you feel worthless. Satan wants to host you. After 3 months in a toxic office environment, your bosses dumped their work on you, you were up late every other night, and yet people took your credit away. Satan wants to host you. After 3 years, 5 years of cold war with your spouse, after 8 years, 10 years of trying to fix a rebellious child, after 10 years, 20 years of entering websites that you shouldn't have entered, Satan wants to host you. When you need fuel for your body, when you're weary, when you're tired, Satan wants to host you. When you need to recharge, Satan wants to host you. He's an opportunist. If he never gives up on taking Jesus down, what more you, mere mortal? Turn the stones to bread, Jesus. You need this. You want this. You can have this. Your dad said you're his beloved son at your baptism, right? You got this for sure. Come on, just do it. But Jesus answered, it is written. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Who makes your boundaries? Who determines your boundaries? It is written. It is written. It is written. Having boundaries is good, but more importantly, it's what they are made of that makes you or break you. God's word has to be your boundary marker. God has to be the one to determine your boundaries. Don't tell me your morals and your ethics are strong enough. Don't tell me your wisdom is high enough. Don't tell me your judgment is solid enough. Don't tell me your discernment is deep enough. Don't tell me your position is firm enough. Because if your self-esteem has been trampled upon for years and years by a nagging or a cheating spouse, if your mind is all messed up after 3 days in a new toxic environment, if you have to handle unruly people day in, day out, you can't be sure, you can't be certain that your morality, that your ethics is strong enough when you are weary, when you are hungry, when you've been 40 days and 40 nights in a toxic environment. If God's word is not the foundation of your boundaries, you're bound to fail. If God's word is not the foundation of your boundaries, you're bound to fail. Now, Jesus literally turns the buffet table back on Satan. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Jesus tells Satan, look here, Satan, what's more needful, what's more satisfying, Satan, what's more crucial, Satan, is spiritual feeding, not physical feeding. Physical feeding appeals to the flesh. Physical feeding is temporal. The satisfaction is temporal. Physical feeding can lead to sin. Physical feeding was the downfall of my predecessor, the first Adam. All your deceptive promises to fill his stomach, he thought he could gain But he took that one bite and he lost it all. What will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? But not so with spiritual feeding, Satan. Spiritual feeding appeals to the spirit. Spiritual feeding nourishes for eternity. The satisfaction is eternal. Spiritual feeding brings wisdom and exposes sin. Spiritual feeding is the sword of the Spirit, which will cut through all your deceptive promises. And Satan, spiritual feeding reminds me that God is the one. My Father is the one who will supply all my needs and all my hunger. Spiritual feeding leads to eternal gain, even if I should die from physical hunger. And in case you didn't know, Satan, my food is to do the will of Him who sent me and to accomplish His work. See, when you feed on God's word, He becomes your strong boundary. You can slay Satan and not dine with him. You can slay all rulers. You can slay all occasions, all deceptions, because you won't be one bite away from sin. Your food enables you to be true to your calling. So what's our reality check? From the example of Jesus, 4 things that we can know. 4 things. Firstly, know who you are, right? That's your boundary. Who are you? You are a child of God. You have His word. You have His power. You have everything that He can give you. You don't have to be the bait for Satan. Instead of being bait, you can be fishers of men. So when you sit down to eat with a ruler, remind yourself, I'm a child of God. Get thee behind me, ruler. Jesus is Son of God. Remember, Satan repeats it, since you're a son of God, turn these stones into bread. So repeat to yourself, I am a child of God. So get lost, Satan. Secondly, know your calling. And that's the anti-bait. I call this the anti-bait. You take the bait because you were attracted to what was offered on the table, right? But know your calling. As a child of God, you are called to suffering. You are called to carry the cross. You are called to be filled by Christ, to be filled with the Holy Spirit. You are not called to be filled with what the world offers. You are not called to be satisfied with hollow and empty things of the world. We were made for God. We were made to worship God. We were made to rest in God. As if I remember correctly, Augustine was the one who said, unless our souls rest in Him, we cannot find rest. It can never rest until it finds rest in you. So observe carefully what is before you. You should be able to see your cross. Not the glories of the table, not the occasions that are blinding you, not the foods that are tempting you. The cross before me, the world behind me. And thirdly, know your strength, and I call this the anti-bite. Know your strength. Go on the offense if you have to with Satan, not defense. You have spiritual weapons at your disposal. You have the power of prayer. You have Christ, who is your wisdom and your light. If you have to put a knife to your throat because of your appetite, do it. Because you can. You have all the weapons. Know your strength. You can do it to avoid temptation's bite. If the power of Christ cannot help you, then we are most miserable people. And finally, know your enemy. All right, this will prevent you from being broken by the enemy. Know your enemy. What is your enemy? Christ has defeated our enemy. Satan is a loser and a sore one at that. He can offer you nothing. What he offers are worthless things. It looks good. What is good in the eyes of men? It looks good. But if you know yourself, you are already rich in Christ. You are already blessed in Christ. You have all the weapons at your disposal. You don't have to desire the delicacies of Satan. So do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Why pay the high price for worthless things? Now, as I invite the pianist to play for us, just some tinkle, tinkle. Just like Satan, just like the rulers of the world, Christ also has delicacies to offer as well. Just like the rest, Christ's delicacies come at a price. The only difference is it's paid for by Christ with his life. It's free for you. You just need to dig in. And it's always been said, you are what you eat, right? You are what you eat. So this week, let us take this whole week to examine ourselves. What do you feast on? What have you been feasting on? Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Do you want to be bait? Or do you want to take the bread? What bread is that? The bread of life. Feast on the bread of life, and then drink from the living waters. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Taste and see his love in the offering. When Satan tempts you to take the bite, when you are just one bite away from being bait, look up. Look up and see him who had made an end of all your sins, who purchased your soul by his blood. You are one bite away from his love and goodness. But, and this is a huge but know this. Just as you are one bite away from sin and damnation, you are one bite away also from eternal salvation and blessedness. Which end of the one bite will you be? Let us pray. Our Father, give us this day our daily bread. Let us delight in your word that will sanctify and satisfy us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, that we may dwell securely in you. May we make your word our strong boundary. May we observe carefully the cross that is before us, the world that is behind us. Because kingdoms and power and glory are yours forever and ever. Amen.